Could your high standards be holding you back from succeeding in life? No matter how young or how seasoned we are in life, where we live, what kinds of jobs we hold, how much effort we put into our jobs, even how neat and tidy we keep our homes is based on a set of standards that we as individuals have decided to adopt into our lives. So, what do you think? How do our standards determine how successful we are in life? How do our standards determine what we achieve in life? How happy we are in life? What do you think? Now, I'm not saying that having high standards is a bad thing. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't keep our homes as nice and tidy as we possibly can, and that we shouldn't achieve great things in life or strive to achieve great things in life. But have you ever wondered, could those standards, those high standards, be holding you back from, say, buying a house or a car or taking a chance on a job? Those are just a few examples. I mean, what about trying new things? What do you think? For example, if you want to buy a house, but you can't buy a house because you want a 4-bedroom house and it's got to have a garage and it's got to be at least 25,000 square feet and 2 or 3 bathrooms. I mean, do you really need that much? Does that house have to be in pristine condition? Do the walls all have to be the latest neutral? As you've heard from different designers. Maybe instead of a 4-bedroom house, you could get by with a 2 or a 3-bedroom house. Do you really need a garage? Or could you buy a house that doesn't have a garage, but maybe has enough land for you to put up a garage? Or maybe you don't need a garage at all. Maybe the house is dated, but a little lipstick and rouge will bring it back to life. Have you thought about that? I mean, do we really have to keep up with our neighbors and our friends? You know, if you're basing your choice of house on what you see people on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, you might not be able to afford a house like they've got. Your income levels may be different. You may have more of your resources going out for childcare. Could you be holding yourself back from home ownership just because you're not willing to settle for something less than your dream house? The same thing with a car. Does it have to be a sports car? Does it have to be a truck? Or could you settle for a car that, instead of it being brand new, one that's maybe 3 years old, maybe one that's 5 to 10 years old? Or maybe, like me, many times in life, could you buy a vehicle that's 20 years old? For many, many years, I've owned a vehicle that was over 20 years old, but it still ran, it was still reliable, and it got me from point A to point B. What do you think? I mean, everybody's life's different, and everybody knows what their tolerance level is. But especially if you've already got one newer car. Could that second car be a beater? I mean, think about it. If you're not making a big car payment, say you buy your car for cash, where could that rest of that money go? If you're not putting out money on a car payment every month, you could take that money, you could put it in a savings account, and you can save that money so that you could, in the future, maybe buy a car that's a lot newer. Maybe you could go into a lot and buy a car that's brand new for cash one day. Or maybe what's more important on your radar is to be able to own your own home. So instead of paying $500 a month or more on a car payment, how long would it take you to put that money into a savings account and come up with enough money for a down payment on a house? Or if you really want to live on the edge, how long would it take you to take that money and save up enough money to buy a fixer-upper house for cash? It's a great feeling, I'm telling you. I mean, there is so much you can do with that money once you decide for yourself that you don't have to have your dream home or your dream car. If you can accept the fact that you'll be living in a house that provides you with shelter, it's clean, it's safe, there's so much more you can do with the money rather than trying to keep up with the Joneses, trying to live up to the standards that in your mind you think you have to live up to. I mean, how much money are you willing to put into interest payments? And I did a little research the other day. I just wanted, because I haven't bought anything and paid interest for so many years. I'm just not even sure what people are paying anymore. So I kind of did just a quick search on vehicles that are available in my area. And for a 2025 Escape, you're going to pay $29,150. That's like over twice what I paid for my very first house. It's just sticker shock is beyond belief for me anymore. But say you don't have to have a brand new car, and say you want to buy a Ford Escape, and you decide that a 5-year-old car will do the trick. Well, a 2020 Ford Escape runs about $11,000 according to the prices I saw available in my area. So if you were willing to drive a car that was 10 years old, you could buy one for $9,812. And that particular car that I found only had 97,000 miles on it. By today's standards, 97,000 miles is not very many. I mean, you've still got, most cars today, if they're maintained and taken care of, most cars today will last you up to 300,000 miles. So you don't have to have that brand new car. Now, if you wanted a car that was a little bit fancier, a little more expensive, A 2025 Explorer, Ford Explorer, is $39,785. That's over half what I paid for my house when I started my life over. But if you were willing to drive a 2020 with 50,000 miles, you could pick that up for $27,100. But again, if you were willing to drive a car that was 10 years old, a 2015 Ford Explorer with 109,000 miles, which again is not bad for today's vehicles, that you could pick up for $10,994. Okay? So think of what you could do with that extra, almost $20,000 if you were willing to drive a 10-year-old vehicle. What could you do with that extra money? Would it make a down payment on a house? On a reasonably priced house that you could work on a little bit at a time and turn it into your dream home? Could you do that? I mean, what would you be willing to do? So, say you bought that 2025 Escape, okay? And you put $4,976 down with no trade-in. Now, this is with an excellent credit score, and most people don't have an excellent credit score. But if you had an excellent credit score, you would have payments of about $453.35 a month. That's for 72 months. So think in terms of mortgaging yourself for 72 months to buy a new car. This is at 5% interest. I mean, that's a pretty good interest rate. You would have about $2,300 in sales tax, which would leave you with a total cost with interest, sales tax. Your total cost would be $37,617.60. Okay, so that Ford Escape just went up about $10,000 just because you wanted a new car and you financed it. What could you do with $10,000? I mean, $10,000 would mean a lot to me. Now, with the Ford Explorer, say you wanted to buy that Ford Explorer, you really, really wanted it, and it had to be a new car because you want that new car for reliability, which, if you get a lemon, you'll find out that a brand new car is not reliable. So that one, under the same terms, an excellent credit score, 72 months, 5% interest, your payment is going to be $624.63 a month. You're going to pay $6,188.35 in interest alone. So the total cost now of buying that new Ford Explorer, $50,560.98. My dears, you can buy a fixer-upper house for that amount of money. Have you thought about this? Even if you didn't want to buy a house, what could you do with that $50,000? I mean, it's something to think about. Something to think about. And it's the same thing with a home. Same thing with a home. So say, people keep telling me the average price of a home anymore is between $300,000 and $400,000. Average price. So say you wanted to buy a $300,000 home. And you put $8,000 down. That means that your loan amount would be $220,000 at 30 years and 6%. And I know a lot of people are going 40 years and more on home loans now. But 30 years at 6%. Closing costs would probably be about $1,200. So your payment, and this does not include taxes, property taxes, or property insurance, would be $1,319 a month. Your total interest, just the interest, is going to be $254,844 by the time you pay that house off. Your house cost almost doubles. If you look at that and you say, okay, this $300,000 house, it just became $554,000. Take a really, really good look at that house. Does that house really look like a $554,000 house? That's something to think about, don't you think? Now let me give you this example. Say you don't have cash because, there are some people who think because I had the cash to buy my house outright for $65,000 that, that was special circumstances. So say you want to buy a house, but you don't have the cash, but you find a $65,000 house to buy. And you put down, say, $6,500. $1,200 in closing costs. Your loan amount is going to be $58,500. That would give you a payment of $350.74. So let's compare that to this average house where your payment is $1,319 as opposed to $350. Most people with even an average job could afford a $350 house payment. But your total interest is still going to be over $60,000. So if your interest is over $60,000, that makes that $65,000 home, that's got to be worth $120,000 to you if you want to take out a loan. Which still, that's a lot less money than this average $300,000 home. Okay, now think in terms of taking out a shorter loan period. Say instead of a 30-year loan, take out a 20-year loan on that lower priced house. Your payment will go up a little bit, but you'll be paying less in interest. So what is it worth to you? Could you take that extra money that you would be spending in house payments and slowly fix up your house so that by the time you have that house paid off, it's just as nice as that average priced house that you would be buying today? It's something to think about, isn't it? And you know, this doesn't just apply to home buying, and it doesn't just apply to car purchases. Think of other areas in your life. I mean, clothing. Hey, I went into Walmart the other day, and they're doing a whole redo on the store, so they were clearancing some stuff out. They had tennis shoes. They were Avia, I think is what they are. I tried them on. They felt good on my feet. I wound up buying 3 pair of shoes. They were $9 a pair. For my area, that's a pretty good price. So I'll take those shoes and I'll put them back, and I'll save them for the future, for when the shoes I'm wearing now are all worn out. But think about it. Are you too good to wear a $9 pair of shoes? I mean, they started out at probably about $25 and marked down to $9. Hey, I like a good leather pair of shoes as well as anybody else. And I've got some. But if I'm buying leather shoes, I'm buying them when they are on closeout. And I still don't spend a whole lot of money for them. I don't spend $150, $250 on a pair of shoes. My feet do just fine wearing a cheaper shoe. So think in terms like that. What is that brand new outfit worth to you? Is it really worth $100 to get a new outfit? Or could you go to the clearance rounder and buy something that maybe isn't your favorite outfit in the store, but it covers your body and it does the job? So think about all areas in your life and what standards you have. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't have high standards for yourself. You should, especially when it comes to how you do your job. You should have very high standards with the type of work you put out, because you need that job to buy that house and to buy that car and to buy those clothes. So I feel like the most important place for you to have high standards is in the effort that you put out, either at your job or the effort you put out into fixing up that little fixer-upper that you buy. And so I do encourage you to have high standards, and very high standards in some areas of your life. Think about all the areas in your life where you have high standards. Even in the amount of effort it takes to maintain your home the way you want it to look. What about your vacations? Do you have to go on a vacation that costs several $1,000s? Or maybe a staycation where you just go around and you see sights in your own area. What about, instead of going on an exclusive beach vacation, can you just maybe visit a neighboring state and see some of the historical sites? I mean, the areas are endless where you can lower your standards just a little bit and have a more relaxed and a more fulfilling life. Just ask yourself, are your high standards making your life better, or are they making it more stressful? And are you less happy? Thanks for watching. We'll talk again soon. Bye-bye.